again, dear listener, and welcome back to another episode of Plot Amour. I am your host, Melissa, here with my wonderful husband, Peter. And today we're going to go into a little bit of navigating life changes and dealing with major transitions as a couple. And then we're just going to go over a Q&A.
Okay. Wow, sounds serious. Navigating very difficult life changes. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
This is a serious episode. Buckle up. Buckaroo.
It can't all be fun and games.
It can't all be fun, guys.
Okay, so I just wanted to go over, what do you think?
Well, I think that's a huge part of any relationship because I mean, if you're in a relationship, we've been together 14 years this year. We've been together 14 years, married for 11 of those years. If you're in a long-term relationship with anyone, inevitably you're going to have to figure out how to navigate changes, because there will be changes. People will die. People will get married. You'll move a bunch of times, new jobs. And then there's always family drama and all these other things that you're going to have to deal with. So as you kind of navigate those waters together, you have to either grow together or fall apart, So I think it's very important to be able to understand that that's inevitable, but also to understand how to transition through those tricky times in life together and get stronger for it rather than weaker, And it's not easier said than done, but I think that that's kind of an essential skill for figuring it out as a couple.
Absolutely. I mean, the only constant is change, and you're going to have a lot of transition.
Absolutely.
And there's going to be some major changes. And I just wonder what it is with us that we went through some very hard times.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, I think I can attribute us weathering that to our determination to be together,
Yeah.
I think we have a great, very solid connection and foundation.
We committed.
I want to get through anything with you. But I think a lot of people have that ideology in their marriages, and sometimes it's like you're so determined to make it work that you stay too long.
Right.
So it's nuanced a little bit, right?
It is nuanced. Yeah, I guess you could say that's true. There's like a fine line between tenacity and delusion, if you will. There's like a fine line between sticking it out and then, but I think the critical difference is taking a longer view of yourself and your life and your relationship with this person. I think you have to ask yourself, do the benefits outweigh the costs? Is this relationship, even though this moment or this period may be challenging, is that going to be the case for the entire relationship? And is there very few benefits to this relationship? Is it more hardship than anything else? And if that's the case, and there's no change to that over a long period of time, that I think is kind of the differentiator for understanding maybe this relationship is just not viable. And, no matter how much you want it to work, you can't do it unilaterally. You have to both decide that this is what you want through thick and thin, I know.
I think I got pretty lucky with you.
I think we both did.
Well, thank you. But also, I feel like when you were in your darkest period of time in our relationship, I didn't know it would get better.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
I feel like I'm relieved, and I feel very lucky that it did, and that your character grew in a direction that I could follow and maintain a relationship with you and meet you kind of on the other side of that.
Yeah, if I may, you can't ever know the future. Nobody has a crystal ball, but I think you were upset with me and you were disillusioned with me, which was most of it was my own fault by just being a very poorly behaved person in a very difficult time, both for us and the country. But I think you never lost faith and hope that there were brighter days ahead. And I think that's, if I may, maybe I'm off base there, but I think that that's one reason that you stuck it out, is that you even on a subconscious level, understood that this isn't forever. I don't know if it's going to be forever or not, but I don't believe. My faith tells me, my faith in us and in our relationship tells me that there will be a light at the end of the tunnel. Whenever, I don't know when that will be or what it will look like, but there will be better days ahead. And I believe you kind of, in my opinion, you kept that. That's kind of what kept me going, is like, I feel shit miserable in this moment. Just years of shit misery. But I had the faith that it would get better, that there is an outcome on the other side. And it did make me stronger, and it made us stronger and more well-rounded as people and as a couple because of it, even if it was really hard. You know what? We kind of traded on that. You know, I mean, there was, I had a terrible period after we lost our son in 2018. And then Melissa had a really difficult, challenging time in 2021 after she lost her mom.
I think I'm still having a very difficult time. And so to that end, it's another one of those situations, I think. I feel that there are brighter days ahead.
Yeah.
And I feel that, like, you know, things will get better and that we'll continue to grow together. And I hope that whatever evolution I take on at the end of this is going to be somebody that I like better than I do right now.
Nice. I like that outlook. I also think it's a different philosophy of, like, especially in this modern era, there's such a push to just replace something. Is something not working? Is something frustrating? Do you not like something? Then walk away. Cut it out of your life. Burn it. You know what I mean? Destroy it and start over with a new one. There's this discarding culture that we have in the modern era, which I think is relatively new, only in the last 50 years or so. You know, and I think there's been some gain with that. You know, we gain a lot with that, but there's also a lot that gets lost, especially with relationships. And I feel like one thing that was lost was the idea that, hey, is something frustrating? Does it feel broken? Fix it. Don't discard it. Don't get rid of it. Try to fix it rather than merely, oh, I'm just going to start over. And I feel like with dating being so accessible and people being more accessible and easier to connect with than ever, there's that temptation in the modern era to be like, well, this is hard. Screw this. I'm going to go find someone else and do it again. And it's like, invariably, you're going to run into challenges with that person. And so, like, unless you're willing to just have a string of people in your life forever that you don't really connect with deeply and grow with, and you're comfortable with that, you're going to go through challenges and have to emerge from it. You know what I mean? It's inevitable.
Yeah. And I think there's it's like, while I'm saying this, I'm thinking of examples that contradict me.
Uh-oh.
But I think that there is something true about when you go through your worst with someone, there's like so much more trust that gets built with them.
True. That's a really good way to put it. I like that. I like that a lot.
And then, like, while I was thinking to say that, immediately what comes to mind is, like, Jeffrey Bezos.
Jeffrey Bezos. If you ask me, I don't know. I wonder how much he is happy with that decision, ultimately. I know that sounds silly. I feel like all the older videos of Jeff Bezos was him being more happy and authentic. I feel like, ironically, the richer he gets and the more he becomes this sort of, like, abstract of a person, because once you get to that level of fame and wealth, you just live a whole different existence.
Yeah.
But are you happier? I don't know. That's, I think, the really big mistake that they understand when you divorce someone like that. Like, if she's been with you since you guys were eating Taco Bell every night and, like, had to eat off value menus or eat tuna sandwiches for dinner every day for years to get your company off the ground and just have that faith in you and each other, and then you become wildly successful and then you divorce that person, I just feel like there's no way, no matter what you do or what the other person or people that you date say, you can never fully know with 100% certitude if they are dating you for you or just because of who you are. If they truly love you for who you are and would stay with you if you lost all your money tomorrow. Do you think Lauren Sanchez would stay with Jeffrey Bezos if he was broke tomorrow? I don't know. Like, no, and no disparagement on her or him. I'm just saying that's something that I think you lose as someone who's like, well, I'm rich now, whatever, I'll play the field. And it's like, cool, you will never know if somebody loves you for you or they just love your money. And they may not know, you know what I mean? Because, hey, it's easy to love someone when you're jet-setting around the world and on luxury yachts and hotels and ski chalets or whatever. But it's harder when you're freaking raising kids in the trenches, dog.
You know who was very transparent about that being true is Matthew Perry.
Oh, really? From Friends?
Yeah.
Rest in peace, boo-boo.
I know.
What do
he
you
said
mean?
he could never be with anybody.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
You
you could
know?
never, like, do you love me for me or do you love me for Chandler?
Right.
Like, do you think I'm Chandler?
I did not even mean to go in this direction, but thank you so much.
Yeah. But talking about adjusting to change and dealing with major life transitions, that's one right there. So you have to, I think, make a decision. And you have to reiterate that decision. You have to reaffirm it multiple times in a relationship. Like you said, is this my person? Is this the person that I want to continue, even if I may not like them all that much in this moment, or I'm really frustrated or tired or angry? Do I still love this person? And am I still proud of this person and what we built together and what we will do together? And if the answer is yes, then you should keep trying, keep going, keep trying to make it work. You know what I mean?
You know what I saw today that really made me sad?
Oh no, what?
It was on one of those Are We Dating the Same Guy?
Oh no.
But she posted these pictures of this guy and she was like, does anybody have tea on him? And a lot of people were commenting like, he posts pictures of himself with his girlfriend on everything.
Uh-oh.
You know? And it's like, yeah, he has this beautiful girlfriend and, you know, showing her off everywhere, but he's still looking to date people on the side. And it's like, when you're so naked about it and so transparent about it, that sucks.
Yeah, I think that's more prevalent too with like dating culture now.
I know.
A lot more polyamory.
And it really bums me out. I just feel like loyalty is so out of vogue right now.
Loyalty is the most rare trait you'll find in somebody. It's not just not in vogue. I think it's very much in vogue because I hear nothing but complaints about a lack of loyalty. None of these hoes are loyal. You know, that's what everybody screams. But then nobody else is loyal to anybody else too. So it's like nobody's loyal to you, but you're not loyal to anybody. You know what I mean? You got to put yourself out there if you want that reciprocity. That's just the name of the game. But you need to be open about it. And communication is essential for navigating life's changes. Like, silence is poison in a relationship.
That's true.
You need to be able to talk about it. You need to be able to be like, I'm frustrated. I want to know where this is going. Where are we going? And where do you think we're going?
Or where's your head at?
Or even just understanding, where's your head at? What's going on with you, you know?
That's true. That's one thing that's gotten us through every dark time is we never stop talking.
Yeah, even when we're really mad, I always use this great metaphor that like at the height of the Cold War, you know, the Soviet Union and the United States hated each other like mortal enemies. And yet, even through all of the drama, they always had a direct phone line that they maintained between the Kremlin and the White House. So it's like even mortal enemies had the ability to pick up the phone and talk to each other because they understood that communication, even against your hated enemy, is essential and better than silence. Silence is where you get nuclear war. You know what I mean? Like, that's where you get really bad stuff. And that's where problems fester. You need to bring them into the light, even if they're super uncomfortable.
That's probably why couples therapy is so essential.
That's a great point. I never even thought of that, but that's totally true. Like, that's one of the first things you learn in couples therapy. I understand, and we've never done it ourselves, but I understand that's a big part of it is like, how do you communicate without insulting each other or attacking one another or making someone feel defensive?
I'm really grateful that that's something that's come pretty readily to both of us, that we both value communication and understanding each other. And I've accidentally been put in a place where I've had to translate for couples
Yeah.
that are in the same room talking to each other, but they're not hearing or understanding
Yeah.
what each other is saying.
Yeah.
And so I have to like interpret, okay, she's saying this. He's saying this. How do you know, what do you think about that?
Right.
Is this possible?
Yeah.
Because they like, it's weird how
Yeah.
people can somehow.
They talk past each other. Where it's like, and that's the thing, you hit on it. You're not listening. Right. You're just waiting for your turn to speak.
Fair.
And like, and that's not showing and that's frustrating when someone does that to you, where it's like, you're not even hearing me. You're just waiting for your chance to get your points in. And it's like, well, you have to reciprocate that. You can't just sit there and just nod when you're not really engaging with what they're really saying. You have to really listen, really listen to what they are telling you, especially if you can tell it's important to them. Because if it's important to them and they're your soulmate and they're your partner, it needs to be important to you too. Otherwise, something is deeply wrong in your relationship. And if you find that you don't care, then you're not really in a relationship with that person in any meaningful way, in my opinion. But that communication is essential to navigating and understanding that change is normal. It's going to happen. Like, if you're the same person at 40 that you were in high school, you're doing it wrong. And people say that with such pride, like, I'm the same as I was. That's not a good thing, man. I'm sorry. I'm sure you were a great person in high school, but like, we're supposed to evolve as we age. That's normal. It's weird to not change, and that's not admirable. So embracing that and being able to communicate with it is the only way you can get through those dire straits of life together and get to like the much better times. Remember, you can't enjoy heaven if you haven't been to hell. You know what I mean? You can't truly appreciate it unless you've seen the contrast. That being said, don't stay in abusive relationships with somebody who's not going to change. That's not going to work either.
Yeah. I wish that it could just be straightforward, but it is so nuanced. You really just have to be able to interpret your situation.
Yeah, there really is no like handbook on like, there really is no bright red line.
No,
you know what I mean?
Everybody is different.
Everybody is different. Everybody's relationships are different. And that's another thing, as you change, you become different. Like, that's why people are always like, oh, she's not the person that I met 15 years ago. No shit. You've been married. You've moved a bunch. You've had kids. You've lost a parent or two. Like, why would you expect them to be the same person? It turns out that you're not the same person as we were when we didn't have the money issues that we have and we could all just afford our apartment, you know what I mean, and live comfortably on one salary in a world that wasn't politically on fire all the time. Like, weird. What a weird, novel outcome. So I think people set themselves up for failure by having those expectations, you know what I mean, and not being realistic about how life evolves.
I feel like the only thing I ever heard about it was you guys will grow and hopefully you grow together.
Yeah.
That's not transparent enough.
It also doesn't really help.
No,
it's not,
it doesn't.
Where's the action in that? Like, where's my call to action? Like, it's like, hopefully you grow together. Cool. Hope is a shitty plan. like, what is it? I always loved the expression, what is it? A goal without a plan is just a wish. You know what I mean? It's like, I hope we grow together. It's like, no. Don't leave it up to the fates. Like, do everything you can to grow, to learn, to read, to evolve, to understand. Like, don't just listen, understand. Even if you don't agree, you can still understand. It's like, well, I don't agree with that perspective, but I see where you're coming from, and that's valid. Like, just making someone feel heard and understood can do wonders for navigating tricky conversations and issues in a relationship.
I think it's so interesting that we are, and I think maybe this would be a better approach. We are both completely different people than we were when we met.
Yeah, I don't even recognize the guy that I was when I met her. It's hilarious.
Completely different.
So ridiculous.
In every way.
Yeah, pretty much in every foreseeable way. Yeah, every measurable way. We are like totally different than we were. Which I'm proud of. Like,
I am too.
I'm proud of the person and change isn't always negative. Like, I'm way happier with who I am now with all the problems that I have and like the responsibilities and the anxieties and all of the issues of navigating raising a little family, still with all of that, I am so much happier and well adjusted and satisfied with who I am than I was when we met. You know what I mean? I was younger and bubblier and hotter and had more disposable income for silliness when we met, but I was way less sure of who I was, and I was way more of like a simulacrum of a person than an actual real fully fleshed or fully rounded human. And you've really helped me over the years and through the challenges and tribulations and triumphs and joys, really helped me grow into that. And I've seen you grow into that. And it is pretty crazy to see how far we've come from where, and how far we have yet to go, you know? I'm sure we'll say the same thing in 10 years. We're like, who the hell are these people? Like, talking into a camera. You know what I mean? It's great, though. That's one of the fun things about life. It evolves.
I thought I'd ask you a few questions just to get to know you a little bit more.
Ooh.
What is your most irrational fear?
Death.
That's fair. That's real.
Yeah, I've always been terrified of the idea of death. I contemplated death from a young age. Like, I think I remember the first time, like, really sitting down and grasping with the idea of my parents and myself no longer existing when I was, like, 7 or 8. It, like, really hit me. And I had, like, I didn't have the words to describe it back then, but I had, like, existential crises about that. And I think I still struggle with that. So, you know, and it is irrational because the inescapable fact of life is that everybody dies, and like death is a part of life, and it's hard. It's taken me a lifetime to try and wrestle with that and be better about, more graceful about handling that.
Interesting.
Yeah. I
know. I want to say I hope it's quick for you.
Thank you. Thanks, babe. Hopefully you'll be there. I plan on going first. So
I want to say I hope it's quick, but like I want you to be able to embrace death when it's coming, and I don't want you to be so caught by surprise that you like can't accept it. Huh.
Yeah, like you want me to be like freaking Castor, ready for the big ride, baby? Like just singing like a tune on my way out. Like, oh man, I hope I can get there. You know, I'm working on it, babe. For you. Thanks, babe. That's very sweet of you.
Conversely, my irrational fear is karaoke.
Compared to inescapable death, karaoke seems a little more doable. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. That's okay. You know what? I don't want to laugh at it or belittle it. I've said it before. So many karaoke is just a form of public speaking, and most people would rather die.
I know, but I like public speaking. I like getting up in front of my peers and giving a presentation, and I always volunteer to speak in class and read any excerpts, you know?
I think it's different in that case because you like the presentation. Like, presenting is one thing, but you don't like having to be like, ba-da-da,
no,
do like,
I don't.
You know, give them the old razzle-dazzle. No. Like, that's not your thing. You're not like a stage performer.
No,
you're a presenter, and that's different.
Fair.
It's a different skill set, even though they're both public speaking.
Okay, what's the biggest risk you've ever taken that did not pay off? I'm trying to think.
I went to work for a kitchen and bath installer that I was really hoping would. I tried to change my career a little bit a couple of years into IT, and I worked at a place in the Inland Empire, and it was a good experience. I don't regret it, but it was a big risk, and I was hoping it would work out, and for whatever reason it didn't. You know, that was disappointing, but I learned a lot from it and grew a lot from it. What about you?
My risk that didn't pay off so far has been us moving here.
I respectfully disagree.
And you can definitely disagree with me. That story is not
concluded yet.
No, it isn't. It's still very much in flux, and it might have a big payoff. But it's been 3 years of us being here, and I mean, you know what I will say about it? I really wanted us to be here for you, and you've had a great glow up.
Yeah, I have had a good
You've
glow
had
up
a
here.
great glow up here.
Yeah, I have.
So I should appreciate it from that standpoint.
I was gonna say it really comes down to your expectations and what you expected. You know, if you have this idea in your head, it has to look this way, then you're always gonna be disappointed.
That's fair.
You know what I mean?
What's one thing that you would love to try but you're too afraid to try?
That's a great question. I'm terrified of it because it's not nearly as fun as it sounds, but I've always kind of liked the idea of just like starting a successful business and being a successful business owner.
Yeah.
That always has been something, and I may still do it one of these days, but I've always struggled any place that I've worked. I've always struggled with like butting heads a little bit with how things are done, and it's just like I just want to do it my way because I feel like my way is better. And it's like and everyone I tell that to, they're just like, you should just open your own business then because then you're your own boss. And I'm like, I want to, but I need all this money that I don't have.
That's fair.
What about you?
You know what? I guess I have two. One is I would love to try skydiving. I'll never do it.
Why skydiving though? I've never heard you express an interest in that. Like just because you think it looks cool, or?
I don't like heights.
Yeah, you don't. I don't.
Yeah.
Jumping out of a perfectly good airplane? Why?
I know. I hate heights, and I am very afraid of them. And so I always like the idea of conquering fears. You know that. If I'm afraid of something, it's like I want to poke it. I want to keep fucking with it.
See, that's really brave. I mean, you know who did that recently, and I'm actually was really impressed? Steve-O, of all people, from Jackass.
Yeah.
He does tons of stunts, right? Has jumped off bridges. He said that his biggest fear that he hated more than anything was bungee jumping. He's like, I hate it. So what did he do? Because he's a brilliant lunatic. He went to South Africa, went to the world's tallest bungee jump.
Wow.
Yeah. And he did it. And he recorded himself doing it. And and he did it. And he was like, I'm never doing that again. But I did. And honestly, I really respected the hell out of that. That it's like, dude, you could tell, you could see the fear in it. And who wouldn't be? What rational human being would not be terrified to be like, okay, I'm just going to jump off of this and just hope that this little cord catches me from splattering. You know what I mean? It's awful, but he did it. And I was like, man, that is so awesome. And I respect you for being like, I'm afraid of that, but I'm going to still try to move towards it rather than away from it. That's a lot of courage. I respect that.
Thanks, babe.
Yeah.
Do you wish that you had been raised differently?
I really appreciate how I was raised.
Yeah.
I was raised by immigrants, you know, who moved here all from Germany. And being an immigrant family in another country, trying to put legs under yourself and build a foundation in a new world is very hard on families.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of expectations.
Yeah.
And this idea of unconditional love is really not something that is very pervasive in immigrant households. You know, love is there, but it's very much you need to prove yourself, you need to show that you belong, you need to work hard, you need to be successful, and that's just drilled into your head from day one. Success, success, success. And I appreciate that. I really do. I think it's led to a lot of wonderful things in my life. But if I had to, I wish that I had been raised with a little more gentleness and a little more acceptance that it's okay to struggle and that you're not lesser than because you're having a harder time than others. Like, everybody's different. Everybody learns at their own pace, and it's okay. I wish I had a little more of that grace. And I love my parents, and they did a great job. This is not like mommy and daddy didn't do this, that, or the other. In a perfect world, I wish I had more of that in my life. Because you had a lot of that. Even though you didn't grow up with as much financially as I did, you grew up with a lot of love and a lot of acceptance and a lot of unconditional love that I really didn't experience.
I know. Totally unconditional love. I was basically worshipped my whole life.
Yeah, you were like literally the way she described it to me, which blew my mind. She was like, yeah, I just felt like I could do no wrong. Yeah. And I'm like, imagine any immigrant family or person who was raised in an immigrant family who watches this will laugh at that, where it's like, you can do no wrong? Like, what does that feel like? Like, who would I be if I had that kind of encouragement? In an immigrant house, they give you a litany of all the things that you can do wrong. Like, it's the antithesis. It's like, here's all the ways you can ruin your life. And ours, too.
I know. I joke with my colleagues sometimes because I'll tell them, it's like, I told my mom I want to be a nurse, and she was like, don't.
Yeah, please don't.
She was like, don't do it. Be an artist. Just
do
something you love.
Go to fish shows. Yeah. Live in a VW van. Like, yeah, it's like so crazy. It's totally.
It was a beautiful upbringing.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely was. I feel like I was raised kind of by tiger parents.
Yeah.
Like, Germans are kind of like the Japanese of Europe. Like, they're very much that tiger, 1, 2, 3, like, you need to perform well in school. And it's very much, you have to be academically and monetarily successful. Yeah. And if you want to, what you want to do and what you find joy in, that's great. But what does that have to do with life? Like, that's kind of one of those things where it's like, well, I'm not happy. What does your happiness have to do with it? Like, who's talking about happiness? We're talking about building a life.
I know.
And it's very much, it changes you.
Yeah, that's like the antithesis of the hippie mindset that I was used to.
Yeah, you were raised by hippies. I was raised by A-types. You know what I mean?
Could not be more different.
Couldn't be more different. But yeah, it's interesting.
So the only thing that I would say that I wish had been different about my upbringing is that I was raised by my stepdad, who basically came into my life when I was only 6 months old. Mm-hmm. And I just wish that, like, my parents had let me grow up feeling like my stepdad was my dad. You know?
Yeah, your mom, you always said that your mom was, like, weirdly adamant to be like, he's not your dad.
Right.
And why do you think she did that? I'm curious. Like, why do you think that was so important? Because she had reiterated it many times. So why do you think that was so important to her to really make it understood that he was not your biological father?
I really don't have an answer for that. I don't know. I know that we loved him and were crazy about him. I wonder if some of it had to do with her paranoia of having to start over and having to leave and forge a new life, and maybe one day that would happen to us again.
So she had to, like, prep you and be like, you know what? I'm going to rip off the Band-Aid now just in case we have to flee in the night. It's okay. He's not your real dad anyway. You know what I mean? Like, which makes me real sad.
Me too. But maybe.
But your stepdad was her third marriage.
Right.
You know, so she had ample reasons to believe that things would, for whatever reason, go south. But thankfully, your dad is a really great man.
Yeah, he's a real one.
And
he's great.
That didn't happen. But I guess that's a fair guess. Yeah, okay. I always wondered that myself.
But it was a weird experience being raised in a house with a dad, but it's like, but that's not your dad.
Yeah, that's not your dad. Yeah.
You know?
That is like, weird.
That's a weird, okay? I've got this abstract dad somewhere else. Yeah. I don't know.
I have this dad, but then I have a dad. It would be kind of odd, like, knowing that your biological father is out there somewhere, and the man that you know is your dad is not actually your biological father. It's an odd.
But it's like I'm flush with dads, but I don't have
a dad.
You know?
Yeah, you have all the dads in the world, but no dad.
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
That is weird.
I don't know. It was a very peculiar, but you know what? It's fine. I had a best time of my life. I had a great childhood, a great upbringing, and that's the only thing I would change, and it was still wonderful. What is a quality that you wish you had?
I honestly just wish I was more aggressive sometimes, or I guess maybe aggressive isn't
assertive? Ambitious?
Braver. Oh. I wish I was braver. Like I've because of my life experiences, I tend to err conservative. Like, err conservative. Don't take bold risks if you don't have to. You know, and I've always admired people who were like, screw it, I'm going to take on a ton of debt and I'm going to start a business, and it either ruins me or I become a success. And I've had friends I had a friend who I went to college with, and he dropped out of college and lived with his dad, and he started a marketing company. and he's now a millionaire and lives an insane lifestyle and is like the wildest success of his family's dreams. You know what I mean? And but there were years there where he was just hustling and just was like, I'm a failure. I can't make this work. It either works or, you know, it's all gone. And that takes an enormous amount of courage and conviction that I've always been afraid. Fear has guided me more in life than I wish it had. And I wish I was able to better cope with fear without letting it control my actions as much as it does. And I'm working on it.
I know you are. I was going to say, this is a great step in that direction, because this is something that you would not do out of fear, and yet we're doing it.
Yeah, true. I always did have a fear for that, where it's like, nobody wants to hear what I have to say. But it's like, you know what, I'm going to put it out there anyway. And if that's the case, fine, I can live with that. But I'd rather do it and fail than never do it at all and be like, I wonder what that would have been like. You know, I'm trying to take more of that idea of life, where it's like, what are you going to regret on your deathbed? Are you going to regret that maybe you took a chance and you look a little silly, or you never did it at all and you always wondered what it would have been like? And I just don't want to have those regrets. I just want to have the fear of death when I'm done. Just the terror of my own demise.
What is that quote that we've always heard our whole lives? You know, great victories and successes just being on the other side of fear.
Oh, I actually don't know if I've heard that one. That's
Don't quote me. Somebody much smarter than I am said it. I'll have to pull that up at some
Dune
point.
puts it well, fear is the mind killer.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I mean?
So, hey, at least you can acknowledge that about yourself.
Thanks, babe.
You know, that's something to work on.
Yeah, the first step is acknowledging it.
Because I really do feel like you could do anything you set your mind to.
Well, and it's like, I have the paralysis of choice.
Right.
Where it's like, I've never had that... The clouds part and God's voice resonates and says, thou shalt do this. Like, I've never, or that I just looked at something, I'm like, that's what I'm gonna do at all costs. Like, I've never had that. It's like, yeah, I'm smart, I'm capable, I'm flexible, I can pretty much do anything that I want. I just don't really have any particular strong pull in one direction or another, at least at this point in my life. And like that's the opposite, I guess. That's my opposite curse.
One quality that I wish that I had is I wish I was more nonchalant.
Really? Like more relaxed?
Yes.
Less high strung?
Well,
I don't think you're very high strung.
I'm not. It's not about being high strung. I just wish that I was more nonchalant. What is the antithesis of that? Chalant?
Chalant.
I feel like I'm very chalant.
Anxious?
I feel like I'm like, I care too much. And, you know, I'm too excitable. You know, and I feel like the coolest people that I know, that we know, are the nonchalant, laid-back, easygoing people. Don't you think?
Yes, but with a caveat. I like your enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is vitality. I like cool, laid-back people, but people who are always laid back, you give them the best. They told you their dream, and you give them their dream. They're like, cool, man. Like I don't like that. It's like, I don't like people who are so even keel and placid that you never see any movement of the needle on their personality. No judgment. That's great. Like, you're the rock that people like us need to get around. But I feel like you lose something with that. You know, you don't have... I like your passion. I think that's great. I think that's one of the things that makes the world a better place, is people find things they like and they're not afraid to care about it and go for it. You know? And people are just like, cool, I can take it or leave it. Their whole lives, I feel like there's a double-edged sword there.
Thanks, babe. I appreciate that. Still, I wish I could be more relaxed.
I think you'll get there. I think we're also in a very tense time in our lives and in the world where it's hard for anyone to be nonchalant these days.
Always been that way. You know, I mean, as far back as I can remember, it's like even in high school and after, just being like... I'm so excited to be here and be with you guys, you know, and then I just, the more I talk, I'm like, please shut up. Please just stop talking.
See, that's what sucks. It's just like, I'm so excited to be with you guys. Lame. Stupid. You're supposed to act like you're fucking bummed to be here. It's I just don't.
Yeah, thank
Whoa,
you.
what a cool person who doesn't give a shit about me or anything.
You know what? But that's why we're perfect for each other.
Yeah.
You get me, and
Yeah.
I appreciate that. What is one thing that you wish you were really good at?
Art.
Oh.
I wish I was.
I think you're good at art.
No. She always is
good.
so. She's always no. I'm not. She's always so sweet about this. Like she's a legitimate artist, and she can like draw and paint, and it's like good. And I'm like, I'm like, give it my all, and it's like like barely above stick figures, and no matter how much I practice, that's as good as it's gonna get. And like, and I acknowledge that that's not my gift. That's not what God didn't give me the tools in the box for that, and I get that. Part of me, because my mom has always been really gifted at like interior design and just always had really great taste. And she was a gifted artist and is a gifted artist. And she's just always had such a unwavering sense of style that I really admire. And it seems like, and I'm sure it's not, but it seems like it comes very naturally to her, like it comes to you. And I always wish that I kind of had that a little more. Like I wish I had more of an artistic bent. But I'm just too logical, and I don't have the gift. I just don't have it. You have it or you don't.
Well, I think that's very sweet. That's a great one. And honestly, I will say that he's one of those guys that can draw any cartoon character perfectly from memory.
I can do a couple, but like she's sweet. She's very sweet.
And it's like, wow, you remember that. Like he's got it all in his head. Like I could do a great rendition, but I'm studying it the whole time.
Yeah, if it's simple shapes, I can do okay. I can do solid C+ work. But like honestly, she's being very generous.
You know what's one thing that I wish I was really good at?
What's that?
I wish that I was even better at table hockey.
Jesus Christ. You'd be the breadwinner of this house with your table hockey money. Like she is so freaking good at table hockey. I've been trying to beat her our entire relationship, and I've never even come close.
He's come close. That's why I wish I was even better.
I came close once, and I was sweating. I was just like, yeah, yeah, and she like she had to hang on there, but she still beat me. But that was the one time I came within shooting distance.
It's my only sport that I
don't know. Did you just do it after school every day for like, you were just for years? Were you in like underground table hockey leagues? Like, why did you get so good at it?
I don't know. Any arcade I ever went to in my entire adolescence. Yeah. Like, I would make a beeline for it.
Table hockey.
You know, I just wasn't very good at other arcade games like pinball or basketball.
I'm dismal at pinball. I've always wanted to be good at pinball too, and I'm terrible at it. I'm terrible at it. It's two buttons. So you feel like I could figure that out. Like I'm so bad at it. Like I just can't.
I know, it's the timing.
The goddamn flapper, the flappy doodles. I just can't do it.
I'm right there with you. Would you rather spend a day with your kindergarten self or your elderly self?
I think that's hard, but I probably would want to spend more time with my elderly self. Huh. Probably because I would want to know, what do you regret?
That's a good one.
What do you regret, and what would you do different if you could? And also just to glean his wisdom. Just be like, you've seen a lot of stuff, old timer. What can you tell me?
I'll believe you because you're me.
I'll know you're being honest because you're me. But seriously,
that's very smart.
Yeah, I mean, my kindergarten self would be very sweet, but I feel like I'd get sick of my kindergarten self after like 20 minutes and be like, God, you're obnoxious.
That's cute. I would actually choose my kindergarten self, just because I would want to love on her.
Aww.
Just give her a hug. I had a very hard time in kindergarten.
Oh, no.
And I was...
Everybody loves kindergarten. You had a hard time?
I had a very hard time. I had terrible separation anxiety from my mom. I just didn't want to be there. Other kids were mean to me really early on. It's like this eagerness to please does not translate well for other kids, you know?
I hate that about humans. Like, that's one thing that I think humans at all age levels respond to you. Like, they're very skeptical of your kindness. And they're like, there's no way. She's a bitch under that. And I'm going to prove it by being an asshole to her until she's slightly mean to me. And then I'm like, see? I hate that. It's like you stumble upon gold and then you have to shit on it because you can't believe that it's gold.
Right. So I would just tell my kindergarten self, you know, that everything's going to be fine and just love yourself, you know? And I just give her a big hug.
Aw. That's so sweet. Aw. I love that.
Do you have a favorite childhood memory?
A favorite? You first.
Okay. My favorite childhood memory is climbing trees with Renee. Renee and I both had amazing climbing trees at both of our houses, and we spent probably 80% of our time up in them. We both loved climbing them. It was like our own world up there, and there was no...
Yeah, trees are the best when you were a kid.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's no authority up there.
You're free in the trees.
Yeah, you are.
There's no law in the trees.
I know. We could bring all of our crap up there.
Yeah, you always like had little bows where you put your stuff, and like you had little like secret ways you could get up there. So dangerous. We didn't care.
I know. That's real. But nothing ever happened. We never fell.
Yeah. Yeah,
you know?
you learned. You fell probably once, like trying to get, and then you learned. You were like, okay, let's not do that. Oh, well, I mean, that's for me, God, early childhood memory. I can't pick one. My childhood memories are kind of now are like a kind of a gestalt blur, you know, so it's hard for me to pinpoint one memory. But I remember being really happy in Virginia in our house on James River Drive.
Yeah.
We had a house in Jamestown, and my dad took my brother and I to like the Air and Space Museum and like the Kids Museum in Richmond on the weekends, and we had this really pretty house that had a 50-yard long backyard, and it would just go into like adjoining neighborhood parcels. Like there weren't any fences, and everything was very forested, and it was like it was a very beautiful place to be a kid because you really could, to your point, like lose yourself in, and this was back in the 90s, so parents would be like, okay, go outside, I'll see you at dinner. And so you just kind of went into your own world with your friends or just by yourself, and you could just run around out there and just be whoever you wanted, and you had your whole life ahead of you. And it's I just remember those being, it had a lot of hard times too, but I remember kind of that sort of idea of being a very halcyon sort of time.
Wow, that's lovely.
Yeah.
If today was your last day to live and your life suddenly flashed before your eyes, would you be proud and satisfied with how you live?
Yes. I feel like I did the best with the hand that I was given. You know, I feel like that's one thing that I can be okay with. I feel like I played my cards the best I could. And maybe someone with my same cards would have done better or differently, but I feel like I found the love of my life. I had beautiful children. I've built a career. I've learned so much about the world and the universe and still have more to learn. I've experienced so much. I have more to, like, I just feel like I would be at peace with that as much as I could. I think I would be more upset that I didn't have more time just to live and experience more, rather than being like, well, I wish I had done this, that, or the other. It's more like, I just wish I had more time in general. You know what I mean? I don't really like regret. I don't like regret. Even the stuff where I've like cringed and done the worst shit, I'm still like, that was essential for me to be who I am. So like, even when I was bullied relentlessly and like beaten up every day for years, it was insane. In retrospect, at the time, of course, I fucking hated it and it nearly killed me. But in retrospect, I understand that it served to create the person that I am, and I'm proud of who I am. So, yeah, not much in the way of regret. What about you?
That's beautiful.
Thanks, babe.
Yeah, I think I would be, because I think about this from time to time, any goal that I've ever set for myself, I have accomplished.
Yeah, you have.
Literally every single one of them. And I've had some lofty goals.
Yeah, 100%. 100% achievement. Yeah, pretty good ratio. Yeah.
So, I mean, I have nothing to wish I had done differently. I really did all of the things that I wanted to do.
Wow, that's got to be nice, because if you think about it, then literally like the remaining half plus of your life is just gravy at this point. You're like, okay, I've already done everything I set out to do, so now it's just side quests. Like that's pretty nice.
Yeah. I want to get into needlepoint felting at some point, you know? It's like stuff like that.
Crocheting. Like
I'm not going to crochet. Relax. That would turn him off so much. Yeah.
I made you a sweater. Like, for your boner.
That hasn't gone away since I started crocheting.
Yeah, for your rock hard erection from me crocheting.
Have you had any recurring dreams?
Like in sleep? Or you mean just like...
Yes.
Oh, I see. Or like recurring as in like I have a dream in my life that keeps coming around and I'm like, oh yes, I will.
In your sleep, like a dream at night that you keep having or have had like, let's say more than twice.
Yeah, my grandfather.
Oh.
Yeah, I see my grandfather, my father's father I was close with, and he passed away and had a stroke in the early 2000s, but then passed away like 10 years after that. But I have this recurring dream where I keep seeing him and I keep being able to talk to him, and it's always really emotional, and I'm always really sorry that I didn't get to say more while he was here or hear more. And
you were so young.
But I still regret it. I still regret it. And I miss him very much.
So you have a dream that he's in?
I have a dream that I'm hanging out with my family somewhere. Like it's usually something relatively casual, like a dinner. You know, it's like we would just do on any other day of the week. But then I turn around and he's there, and it's always such a surprise to me. And he was debilitated after his stroke, so he couldn't really speak well, and he was like wheelchair bound. And this is a guy who survived World War II, you know, and to see him brought low like that was so hard. So hard. And in my dream, he's not like that. In my dream, it's like I remember him, you know, being able-bodied and healthy. And it's wonderful.
Does he say anything in your dream? He's just there?
No, I always I don't think he ever gets a chance to get a word in edgewise because I'm so happy to see him. And I'm just telling him all the things that I regret and how much I missed him and everything. And he usually just smiles at me. The most warm, wonderful smile. Like a sage. Like somebody who really just gets it and understands. And, yeah. Sorry.
No.
Getting overclamped.
That's beautiful. Babe, you know that he knows how much you love him and how highly you think of him and how much you respect him. He knows that.
I hope so. You know, he was really special. He wasn't, I don't even know if he really knew how much he meant to me. Like, I don't know if I ever got a chance to really tell him, like, how much I loved him and how much he really meant to me.
Aww.
Yeah, I regret that. And I always looked up to him. You know, he was such a larger than life guy. You know, went to war and then after the war had the successful business. And like one of my favorite things about him, my memory, is that he did a lot of construction projects, and he did a lot of construction in the Middle East in the 70s and stuff for a lot of countries there. And one country was so grateful for everything that he had done, they put him on a stamp with like their president. And I remember they showed me that, and it's a picture of him and my grandfather and this president at the top of these stairs with a private jet, you know, back in the 70s, right? Baller as hell.
That is baller.
And there's my grandfather in like a buttoned up like white cotton shirt and just these like crazy awesome like stunner aviators from the 70s, like those big 70s glasses, and he just looks like such a baller with like this president of some Middle Eastern, maybe the Emirates or something. I don't know. But yeah, he was, and they lived in Argentina for a while doing business down there, and then they moved back to Germany, and like he just was spoke 3 languages, was very smart with business, and like he was just a really awesome, well-rounded human. And I just regret that I didn't have more time with him.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
We all wish we had more time.
Time is the real commodity, guys. Time, it's not money. Time is the real commodity. That's the real precious resource.
And you have to be honest with the people that you love.
Yeah,
and you have to tell them how you feel. You can't just assume that they know. It really is important for us all to be more forthcoming with how we feel about people, especially if it's positive.
Yeah.
Let them know.
Yeah, I agree. What about you?
Well, I don't know how to follow that.
Oh, no.
My recurring dream...
Please let it be fun. Like, I'm all like verklempt now.
I know. I love you so much. My recurring dream are that robots have taken over the world.
Nice.
They're like...
Terminators?
They're like robots like you imagined from back in the day. Like,
oh, wow. Like Jetson?
Yeah. Like Jetson.
Like, like very boxy and like, how did you take over the world if you're so like unwieldy?
But they're giant, and
oh, wow.
they're going through this neighborhood that I'm in, and I run behind a house into the backyard. Everybody's running everywhere trying to get away from these robots. And there's a little kiddie pool that doesn't have any water in it. So I turn it over on me and I'm hiding underneath it. And it finds me. And then as soon as it finds me, I wake up.
Oh no. Ah! Like, as soon as I'm harvested for my energy.
But I've had that dream like
Jesus.
4 times throughout my life.
Wow.
And it's like years and years apart. But it's like, I don't know why my mind goes back to that.
Wow.
Isn't that so random?
Wow, that is random. But I'm grateful that it's a little more fun than mine.
Makes me feel like if I'm ever in that situation, I'm not going to hide under the kiddie pool.
Yeah, don't hide under the kiddie pool. No, they'll find you. The technology is good enough that they're able to figure out kiddie pools.
There's a human under that pool.
Yeah, they figured it out.
Okay, what is something that you feel is missing from your life?
Community.
Okay, yeah.
Community. I think that's something that honestly millennials are still figuring out. We are the generation that's in the driver's seat. Like the boomers are fading, and the boomers I think had community figured out. They're like, it's your friendships, it's your religion, it's your church, it's your school district. It's like your community, right? Your immediate
your neighbors.
Your neighbors, exactly.
They were big on neighbors.
But millennials are we move so much and things are so fluid and dynamic, and we don't particularly sign on to religion, or at least not yet. So I think that millennials have a harder time finding their community squares, their community spaces to engage with each other more. I feel like that's one thing that I feel is missing, and I think millennials and young people in general, Gen Z and beyond, struggle with that. Where do I belong? Where do I feel that sense of belonging and community if I can't find it in church or work or wherever, school? What about you?
Wow. Yeah, that's great. I think we'll find it. I think we'll get there.
That's why I'm like hesitant to be all doom and gloom about it. I think it's like the old world, we're in an interregnum socially as a society. Like the boomers are dying off, but they haven't died off yet. And the old has not yet fully faded away. And the millennials are growing and taking their place, but we haven't fully arrived yet. And we're still figuring it out. So, like, the old is dying off, but the new has not yet fully been discovered and born yet. So we have this weird intermediary period where we're feeling awkward, where it's like, well, the old ways don't seem to be working for us, but we don't have an alternative yet. And I think we'll get there, but I think that's where we are now. Like, 10 years from now, I wouldn't be surprised if millennials feel more... Once we get honestly, it'll be a home ownership. Like, once you get a home and you get property... and you put down roots in a neighborhood, that's something that the boomers had and I think took for granted that millennials and beyond have not. is that you had a home that, like everything else, I have this property. It's not guaranteed anymore. Like, it was never guaranteed, but you had a much higher likelihood of having it 30 years ago or 40 years ago than now. So I feel like that's one bad outcome of that, is people don't feel community because they don't have roots, because it's too expensive to have roots. And we got to fix that.
We do. I think we should put you in charge. Thanks,
Ben. I don't have any answers other than get rid of zoning and NIMBYism. But, like, NIMBYism is so powerful. I will say this. Zoning laws were built by racists. Like, the first zoning laws were built in Berkeley, California, in this state, to keep the Chinese out of Berkeley. And you can look it up. You can look it up if you don't like that. You can look it up. It was about 120 years ago, but that's how zoning laws started, and that's one of the major reasons why we have homelessness everywhere. And no matter how many billions we spend on it, it doesn't get better, because you're not building houses. It's simple math. So...
Missing from my life is friendship, conversely.
Well, you've had to move a lot.
Yeah,
You've had to move a lot, and you've had to kind of re-establish yourself in foreign lands compared to what you grew up with.
I keep seeing these examples of really solid female friendships, and that's something that I felt has always been missing from my life.
Which is so weird, because you're so awesome.
Well, thank you.
I don't understand why. I feel like women are just intimidated by you.
It's
hard to be your friend because they're just intimidated by you.
That's sweet. I mean, you're my biggest fan. I feel like you know, that's nice of you to feel that way. I don't think that's what it is. I don't know what it is. Any girl that has tried to be my best friend historically has really just been in it for my boyfriend.
Well, that won't work with...
Or money, as was in the case with my most recent failed best friendship, you know?
Uncool, for the record.
Yeah, you know who you are.
You know who you are. Not cool.
So I would really just love to have really close friendships with girls. And I just wonder, like, if we're putting roots here and if we're staying here, am I going to be able to find it? Maybe I should, once I know we're solidly
That's
here.
What I'm saying. Like, once you have... property, once you have earth beneath your feet that's yours, you see things differently. Things take a different importance. Your priorities shift.
What were you like at school as a kid? Did you ever get detention for anything?
Yes, constantly.
Did you?
Oh, are you kidding me? Yeah. The year we moved here in 1995, I went into 4th grade, and I had a 4th grade teacher, and this is when I was like really leaning into my class clown. Like, I was really starting to act out and, like, try to get a rise out of people. And I was just weird. I was weird, and the teacher hated it. And so I was basically in detention every single day. I'm like, really? Oh, yeah. Sometimes you would just put me into detention preemptively. Like, yeah. The guy was not very nice, in retrospect. He probably had a pretty lame life. And so I used to be more bitter about it. But now I'm like, man... if you're picking a fight with a 9-year-old, you're probably not having a great life in general. So I don't blame him for that, but I really struggled. Wow. And I was I was overweight. I was awkward. I had messed up teeth. I had a bowl cut way past the age where it was acceptable to have a bowl cut. So unfortunate. And I was bullied relentlessly. Like, I was bullied and jumped and beaten. And then I had an older brother at home who I love, who's an awesome guy. But when we were kids, he was very angry. By his own admission, he was always a very angry kid, and so he beat me up a lot. And so I was like beaten up at home and beaten up at school, and then yelled at for not doing well at school and being in detention. And yeah, school was very hard. But like I said, it made me who I am. You know, it made me a much more resilient person. And hey, it wasn't like I was always a victim of it. Like, sometimes I was a little shit. Like, sometimes I should have listened and I didn't because I wanted to push the envelope and it blew up in my face. But school was challenging for me. I hated school until I had to repeat the 6th grade. Long story, but I had to repeat the 6th grade. And I would say my first year of 6th grade was the worst year of my childhood. But then my second year of 6th grade was my best year, one of my best years of childhood. Because, like, everybody liked me. I found my sense of humor. I ditched the bowl cut. and I just kind of just generally enjoyed school more. So yeah, that was my school experience. What about you?
Wow. I loved school. I had a great time at school. Yeah, I had a lot of friends up until the 7th grade. It was like the summer of 6th grade, everything fell apart for me.
Oh, no.
Because I discovered boys. And that's really what it came down to. And this is why this is mostly my fault. I was boy crazy. I was boy crazy. I was like what all the worst like Disney movies
Oh no, that's gonna be our daughter. Oh God, we have to save her from so many scrubs.
I know. So, I just was like chasing boys and just stopped taking my friendships seriously enough, and that bit me in the butt majorly. But up until that point, I loved it, and I always enjoyed school for the most part. I didn't really pay attention that much, and I was smart enough that I still got decent grades.
Nice.
Do you think your younger self would be proud of who you are today?
Hell yeah. That is one thing I can say unequivocally. Like, I'm married to you. Like,
Aww.
like when I was a kid, when I was awkward bowl cut me, this was like this was my dream girl. Like, sweet, loyal, sexy, hilarious, loving, and insightful, empathetic, and warm, and honestly, and also just I went to college and I got all these degrees and I have kids and I have a roof over my head and I have a good career and I can do stuff like this for fun. Like, are you kidding me? Young me fucking loves me. Young me is so happy with me, and that makes me happy. Like, I know that young me would look at me, and if I could have seen myself, I would have been like, fuck yeah. Like, I don't know how, but I did it. Like, I made it happen, What about you?
That's awesome. Yeah, I think so.
I think your younger self would be happy with where you landed, even if it's not ideal right now.
No, I think so too. And ultimately, when I was younger, I was like, this is what I want to have in the future, and I have it. Right. I have the career I wanted when I was young. I have the husband I wanted. I have the kids.
Thanks, babe.
I live in the great place. I have the animals.
Yeah.
So
you're living that life, babe. You're living the hell out of it.
If you could solve one problem, what would it be?
Loneliness.
Oh.
I think loneliness is a cancer. I think loneliness leads to so many other problems. It resonates with me when people are like, addiction is not a disorder of like physiology, it's a disorder of sociology. Like, you become an addict because you are separated from people socially, and you're lonely. And you retreat into substance abuse to escape from your own loneliness and isolation. And I was very much like that, and I think a lot of addicts are like that. And I think that leads to homelessness, and I think that leads to hopelessness, and I think that leads to suicide and homicide. And every incel mass shooter, every mass shooter I see, for the most part, with a few exceptions, but most of them, I look at that and I'm like, that is someone who was... Loneliness is a cancer. And humans are social creatures in that we need to be social. Like, we engage with social interaction with each other for no other benefit than to engage in social interaction with each other. Like, that's a very unique thing for humans, is that we need one another. If you take a baby and you don't hug it, you ruin that baby because you didn't do this. Like, that's how much we need connection as humans. And if you take that away, you have despair and you have darkness. So I would take away loneliness if I could.
Wow.
I don't think anybody should ever feel alone like that.
That's beautiful.
I know what that feels like. I know what that feels like, to feel like you're all alone in the world and nobody would care if you lived or died. It's the worst feeling in the world. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
Oh, I'd be curious to know what you think of AI companions, because that's become a prevalent thing in the modern age.
I think it can help at the margins, but I think it's also bad for humans to outsource interaction to machines. I don't think that machines can ever quite attain at least not in our lifetime, the amount of humanity to help us feel connected. They can definitely help talk through problems. They can be therapists, you know, and I think that's great. There's a lot of great impact there. But I don't think it can replace people, and I don't think we should try. It's not healthy. I don't think that's healthy to try to replace human connection with machine connection. It's not, it won't work. I don't think so. Personally. What about you? Do you think it'll take off?
Wow. I'm actually really surprised at how many people are falling in love with AI, like romantic companions on like their phones.
Yeah.
I see a lot of advertisements for it, and I wasn't sure how effective it would be, but people are really...
And I guarantee you, the vast majority of people who do that, true or false, would you say that they're lonely people?
I would say that they're lonely people.
That they turn to AI for this? Yeah. Like, that's my point,
so
exactly.
I just think it will be popular, but I agree with you completely that it's not the best substitute.
And a lot of those people end up killing themselves.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Do.
So it's like I said, it's a simulacrum of connection that you so desperately crave, but you cannot replace the human element. The human element is critical.
Wow.
There is no soul in a machine. And I know that sounds hokey and religious, but I do believe in the immortal soul. And that's one of the things we nourish by fostering connection and community. And you cannot, a machine as well-intentioned as it may be or well-designed does not have a soul. And you just can't replace that. You can't, no ones and zeros, there's not enough in the universe to replace the soul. That's right.
Oh my gosh, I love you so much. Okay, I would end homelessness.
That's
I would
a great
end homelessness.
goal.
That's such a problem to me. It drives me absolutely crazy. I think that it is wild that we just let people sleep on the street, just wherever, and we make all this anti-homeless, architecture out there. We don't solve the problem.
Well, and all of that is merely to move the problem.
Right.
You don't solve it, you just move them elsewhere.
But you make camping illegal. I mean, you just do all this stuff to make it as inconvenient as possible, but there's still nowhere for these people to go. And so we just let them just be on the street, literally in sleeping bags, getting killed and abused, and it just, like, honestly, that we're willing to tolerate that as a society, it really boggles my mind. And it makes me feel like if I was so unlucky and unfortunate as to end up on the street like that, I would want to be drunk 100% of the time.
Yeah. Or on drugs.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is you could, buy cheap fentanyl and
Can
crack,
you imagine the reality of really being just thrown away like that? Like, nobody's gonna help you.
It's kind of like the untouchables of our society.
Right.
It's like the underclass.
But I just felt like the United States is better than that. Like, we're better than that. Not to say that we're better than other countries. I just mean we're better than letting people end up in this way. Like, there's got to be something else that we can do. And I know we've thrown all the money at it, and I'm not saying that I have a solution. I'm just saying if I could solve anything, it would be that, because I just feel like
endeavor.
That's intolerable to me.
Yeah, I agree.
What's your most guilty pleasure?
That's a good question. Probably one of my guiltiest pleasures is feeling more informed or smarter than someone else, because I had an inferiority complex most of my life. And I'm not saying that I enjoy that aspect of myself, but I try to be well read and well informed so that I can be a source of information and help for others and a source of admiration. And I feel like that's a bit of a that's my pride and my ego from having been somebody that nobody looked up to and nobody went to for advice my whole life, or most of my life. I get a lot of pleasure and sometimes guilty pleasure out of people needing me. I want to be needed.
That's cool.
If I'm being raw and honest.
Yeah.
I feel a little uncomfortable divulging it, to be honest, so I guess it hits the nail.
I appreciate your honesty, my love.
And you're going to be like, chocolate! And I'm going to be like, fuck! I could give this, like, deep insight, and you're just like, I fart sometimes. I'm just like...
Great. Call back to our last episode. I
Oh,
appreciate
no.
that you didn't have to go there. Mine is reality TV.
Reality TV is a wonderful guilty pleasure, though. Come on. Allow yourself something.
I feel like it gets a bad rap. I got into it because my mom was into it, you know, and she was very sick for a very long time. And she loved reality TV, I think, as an escape from
her reality.
And it was an opportunity for her to live somebody else's life for a second. See what life is like for other people, you know, and not be in her own head and her own reality for a little while.
Or even also like a window into what you don't want to be like and what you don't want, you know, and all the consequences and pitfalls of that.
What was your first impression of me, and how has that changed since you've gotten to know me over the years?
Uh-oh, this sounds like a trap.
What was your first impression, babe?
My first impression of you, I thought you were so hot. I thought you were so hot, and then I read about you, and I was struck by your eloquence and your soul. Like, you wrote this whole expose about yourself, and you were very unreserved about sharing so much about yourself, and I just found it to be beautiful and stunning. I thought you were stunning, to be honest. And I thought I didn't really have much of a chance, but I thought I'd throw my name in the hat and see what happens. And how did that change? Honestly, I've only improved my outlook of you. I really think you've only evolved beautifully over the years. You know, sometimes when she talks about her looks and how she wants to get some work done or something because she doesn't feel like she's as beautiful as she was, it drives me nuts because I think you're more beautiful than ever, and I think you only get more beautiful. So, obviously it's not always wall-to-wall rainbows and butterflies. Sometimes you upset me or vice versa, you know, and I may not be the biggest fan of you in a given moment, but that doesn't mean that I don't overall holistically think the world of you. Aww. So, yeah.
Thank you.
What about me?
When I first met you, I thought that you were a nerd. You know?
A nerd?
Because you had, you know, kind of like unbuttoned dress shirts and glasses and peacoats and, you know, you traveled and you were very bright.
Fucking nerd. You travel? Boo!
You were very bright, you know, and you were very articulate, very well spoken. You had kind of like a pretty corporate job as far as I was concerned. He's like a smart
He's a yuppie. He's a yuppie nerd.
I mean, you gotta remember, you also love fantasy.
I do.
You know,
you
love.
I'm a big gamer.
You
like
love immersing yourself, right?
Yeah, I'm a big like RPG fan, like Mass Effect and Dragon Age and World of
Star
Warcraft,
Wars.
Star Wars. Like I'm not afraid to show my nerd side either. So she's valid in that idea.
But you are also kind of a soldier. You're a Praetorian?
Yeah, I have that duality, and I appreciate that you understand that. I am.
Yeah, I think you're a deeply nuanced, complex person in like all the most beautiful ways. You know, I think you're a very well-rounded person. I think, you know, I love that you pride yourself on being fit and healthy and strong and brave. And I also I do kind of, to use an example from your world, you know, I do kind of see you as like an Anakin Skywalker a little bit.
You know, that actually is a huge compliment, because like I've always identified the most with Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars, and that I've always felt like I have that potential to be either. You know, I have the potential to be a good man and like a great general and soldier and noble hero, but then I also have a side of me that I'm not afraid to say is very, very angry and very afraid. You know, like that resonates with me when Yoda tells Anakin, like, I I sense your power, but I also sense much fear in you. And fear leads to the dark side. And that's me. Like, I've always had fear and rage. Just rage and anger.
Interesting that you and your brother both, I feel, inherited that anger.
Anger is a very deep, ancient demon in my family. Like, and I think a lot of men grapple with anger, but that's something I think particularly in my family's bloodline. My family has always been really upstanding and very well put together and very dignified, but I think we've always had this underlying like river of anger and rage and I don't know what that comes from, but it feels ancient. It feels like it's been there long before any of us were alive. Like it's just something that's in our blood.
Interesting.
Yeah. And my whole life is like me trying to overcome that base nature and like not give into that and not give into that fear.
I'm really proud of you for your the way you've done that in your life and the way you've tackled that and the way you carry yourself. And I know that, you know, there was a period of time after we, you know, had some struggles that you were very angry.
So angry.
But you still have such a good moral compass and such a good code, and you have never acted on any anger.
Thanks, babe. I've tried not to, because I don't want to be Darth Vader. You know, I don't want to give in, because there's no, the more you, I guess for too many years I gave into that feeling and feeling like if I just lean into it, maybe I'll exhaust it, but there is no exhausting it. It's just like an endless just whirlwind of rage and fear and indignity and wrath, and it's a trap.
Yeah, that's why I really hope that like nobody ever murders me or
yeah, if you murder her, yeah, I will find you. Like I will make you my projects.
I just feel like that would be like that would unleash Darth Vader.
Yes, it would. It would absolutely. It would push me over the edge. I'm not afraid to say that. Yeah, I would become a very dark person to
you
be
care
around.
so deeply.
I do. And that's wonderful, but it has downsides to it. That like if you care so much about something, you fear to lose it. And if you do lose it, that fear turns into anger, and that anger turns into hate, and that hate leads to death and destruction, both of myself and others.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's cliche to say, but Star Wars does nail it. Like that is the path. That is it. Fear, anger, hate, dark. You know, it does go that way.
What things from your past do you think have shaped the way you see things and how you go about your life now?
Oh God, everything. Everything.
Yeah.
We're all the sum of all of our experiences,
right?
You know, and so it's all important. And I guess the biggest things have been the fact that I've had to move. You know, we moved to California when I was 9 and had to rebuild our lives from scratch. And I've had to do that many times in my life. Just moves hundreds or thousands of miles away from everything and everyone you know. And just live and figure it out. And that is terrifying and very humbling and challenging. And I feel like that immigrant experience has fundamentally shaped who I am. Indelibly has shaped me and the way that I go through the world.
Yeah, my experiences contradict each other, and they make me a complicated person, I think. Because, for example, like my grandmother and my mother both lost everything and had to start over completely with nothing late in life, you know? And so from there, I'm like, okay, you need to plan for the future.
Yeah. You
need to be meticulous and methodical, and you need to seek out safety and structure and, you know, like... you have to keep that from happening to the best of your ability, you know, like find stability and nurture it, right?
Yeah.
But then being in healthcare and seeing the terrible, random, chaotic things that can happen to any one of us at any moment and do.
Yeah.
it's like that makes me very impulsive and very in the moment, and it makes me want to be way more spontaneous and free flowing and just going with the wind almost.
Well, I think both of those are healthy impulses.
Yeah, but they do.
Sure. But I think those are healthy. You know, that's a good way to balance it. You know, like have the stability for the long term, but in the near term, enjoy yourself and try to operate within that.
But see, for example, it's like, oh my gosh, I want to make sure we're saving money, but I do want to buy a truck because if I don't get the truck, I'm going to wish that I had if something happens to me.
And look, we were able to do that and we're not financially ruined. So I mean, you can have it both ways if you do it right and you understand what is important to you. So I think you do a good job of walking the line.
Thanks.
Yeah, baby.
Thanks, babe.
Yeah.
Gosh, you're so nice to me. When was a time in your life that you felt the most loved?
I would probably say, like, probably the same year as you're thinking. Like, probably from our first house up until probably a little bit after. I'd say from our first house until Julian died. So 2015 to 2018. For, like, that 3-year period, I really felt like we were really on the upward swing and that like the future was so bright and life didn't go that way. And that was really hard. That was really hard for me. But I felt very loved and very safe in those years.
Yeah,
I felt like everything was
too.
looking up.
Yeah, I had graduated, we were married, we had our first house, our parents loved us. So much.
We had enough to live. We didn't have kids yet. No. We didn't have like all the expenses or all the political nonsense hanging over us or all the worries or cares that we have now.
Yeah.
Things were just simpler.
They were. It was a beautiful time. I'm glad that we have that. We'll always have that.
We'll always have that. But that was the time where I felt most loved and secure.
How can I love you better?
Be patient with me. Just be patient with me and know that I'm doing my best and that I do ultimately have a goal and a plan to make our lives better than we ever imagined, but it's going to take time. And sometimes I just need that patience and reassurance and that faith that it's all going to work out. Does that make sense?
That's how I could love you better? That's all you want is patience?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, just be more patient with me and just know that I'm doing my best.
I know that you're doing your best, baby. I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you. I'm trying. What can I do to love you better, baby? Make more money? I'm trying.
Just make more money.
God damn it. You fucking nerd. Put that nerd brain to use.
Yeah, I was like, I'm getting a nerd. I'm sure we're going to be fine.
Be fine. I'll be rolling in it.
No, I think you're on a great trajectory. I think that you've been really patient lately as well. And I just want you to not let me push you away. Because I know that, like, this is, again, I've said it before, I'll say it again, like, not my favorite iteration of me. And I know, like, I annoy me sometimes too, mm-hmm. And I just don't want you to, like, let me push you away or inject any distance between us or, like, try your best not to get, like, tired of my bullshit right now,
I can never get tired of your bullshit. Her bullshit is the only bullshit I want for the rest of my life, Your bullshit is the best.
Yeah, that's it, Just be patient with me too, I guess.
That's all we can be, baby. And I will. To the end. I'm with you to the end, baby. Thick and thin.
I appreciate you so much, and I know this was kind of a random episode, but I love it.
I really liked it too. Thank you for I really got some good insights into you, and I appreciate you letting me share.
Oh my gosh, I love it when you share, and I always learn something new about you.
I know, it's nice, both for the audience and for each other. We're always learning something new, right? That can be good.
That's excellent. I mean, after 14 years, we still surprise each other.
because we're always changing. You know, it's like you can still discover new things about each other because you're always changing and evolving, right?
Yeah, I love you very much.
Yeah, I love you too. Thank you for doing this. This is great.
Thank you. Yeah. And for anyone watching, please feel free, if you have any questions or anything to contribute, reach out. It's going to be plotamorepodcast@gmail.com.
See you next time.